So good afternoon, everyone, officially, and thank you for joining Corporate Colleges Live with the Experts. Uh, each of these sessions is really geared towards providing you truly relevant information and tools, topics, everything to support you and set you up for success. Because adjusting to the new norm seems to be a daily occurrence now, and shifting to a new reality of remote working and learning and living creates many, many different challenges. But here at Tri-C, we're committed to serving you in this time of rapid change by providing actionable resources to help you and your team succeed and thrive wherever your team is located, whether still at the work site or we're working remotely. Our webinar series is one of Corporate College's newest resources to prepare the workforce for overcoming these challenges and achieve both personal and business goals. We have a series of 4 different themes, and today's theme is focusing on working remotely. Other topics, and Susan has provided these as well, is on virtual leadership. We have other sessions coming up on how to navigate a transition and also personal health and well-being. And as many of you know, Corporate College has a very distinguished and very talented team of facilitators and subject matter experts. Today, I'm so pleased to introduce our presenter and facilitation specialist, Susan Aldrich. Susan is a facilitator and coach with Corporate College, and she brings more than 22 years of real world experiences as a business leader herself and now as a consultant with a variety of organizations. Susan specializes in coaching from everywhere from key senior executives through mid-level leaders to really position them for greater influence and connections throughout the organization. Susan also specializes in time management, which, as you know, is a critical component to becoming more efficient, more effective, and productive. Throughout her career, starting out in the textile industry, Susan created really truly rapid results training programs targeted at high potential employees, and now works with Corporate College to create accelerated learning training programs designed to help participants really take an active role in their learning throughout the day, really revolutionizing a classroom or virtual classroom experience. And as a Clevelander through and through, she supports many different organizations throughout the community and serves now on the board of the American Society for Training and Development, or ASTD, and the International Alliance for Learning. Wow, it's really tremendous. And we appreciate her taking her time out for us again today. So I'm very pleased to bring back Susan Aldrich. Welcome, Susan. How are you this afternoon?
I'm good. It's Wednesday. If you're wondering what day it is, it's Wednesday. I know that's some of our biggest challenges to know what day of the week it is. So I'm really pleased to be bringing you this kind of unique program today. And I named it Self-Care and Life Balance Does Really Equal Productivity. So I've had the unique honor almost of helping people over the years with life balance in corporate America. And I was explaining before you all got on this morning to Geraldine that I've had several corporations pay for me to help their employees with life balance. They were very valuable employees, brought so much to the table. They had so much work experience, but they could tell that they were really, really burning out. And so over the last, I'd say 4 years, I've really delved into life balance. Again, as Geraldine and I were talking this morning, and probably like many of you, we tend to be recovering workaholics, and I certainly am. And I thought when I started my own business 22 years ago, that would get better, but it's a struggle as work picks up. Life sometimes isn't always in balance. So we're going to jump right in today and talk about several different areas. Let me see. There we go. So we're going to talk in the beginning about what can we do for self-care, and I want to hear from everybody. So start thinking so we can start chatting. What is it that you're doing to take care of yourself mentally and physically? Setting some boundaries. I'm going to talk about some techniques that we can do. And then we'll talk towards the end about really how we can up our productivity or maintain our productivity. which can be really difficult right now, especially if you're working from home. Your spouse might be working from home, and you have kids, and so it may be really challenging. And I decided to talk about some techniques that I've used, how to reward yourself to keep motivated. I've got a couple really cute stories of things that friends and clients have done. And then as I was finishing up putting this PowerPoint together, I thought, man, we've got to talk about the P word, which is procrastination. And I don't consider myself much of a procrastinator, but I am finding myself, the longer this isolation is going on, I am starting to procrastinate quite a bit more than I have, in the past. And that we need to sort of forgive ourselves. We may not be always to be able to perform at our peak. And some days are certainly better than other days, especially for me, and I'm surely for you. There are some days I just seem to be in the groove and I'm just getting so much done. And then other days, it's such a struggle to get almost anything done. So I want to start the chat up. So what are what are your productivity killers? Go ahead and send it in, and then you all can't see the chat, so I'll read what everybody has to say. And I want to reinforce that at the end of this, in the next day or two, you'll get a copy of the PowerPoint, and then I'll type up and summarize the chat comments. So you'll be able to see those too. But one of the productivity killers for me has been that I'm not getting up and going to work every morning, and I'm getting a much slower start into the morning and hanging out in my pajamas. And I found that that was really sort of killing my productivity. So I've been working on getting up and getting going a little bit earlier in the morning. So let's see. Going on long walks is a good thing, but maybe if you go too long, it can be a productivity killer. Melancholy, absolutely. Whatever you want to name it, I think we're all starting to struggle the longer this isolation has gone on. When I first thought it was going to be, to the end of April, I was psyched up that when May came, things would just totally go back to normal. And now that it hasn't, it has really made me feel sort of melancholy. So distractions from the dogs and the animals and family, interruptions from family members. I think that's a really big one for some of us that, aren't used to having that. No specific assigned task, Rose said. So absolutely, we may be on our own a lot more. We may not have the level of work and, deadlines that we had before, and that can really affect us. Anxiety about the future, absolutely. And I think we all have to think about that. Some of you may still be working, some of you may be furloughed, but we're facing, more layoffs, and we're wondering about when we'll get back to work. Erica says no agenda. Yeah, wouldn't we love that 6 months ago? But now it's kind of like, let me get on task, let me get stuff done. Absolutely, anxiety about the future. Somebody else says, I think it's Amy, has always worked from home, but now I have 3 extra people at home to share space with. Coordinating everyone at home schedule has been tricky. And I think that's been such a big challenge. So let's say just all the distractions. I think we can all relate to that. Lack of clarity on what the environment will be weeks and months from now. It's really hard to plan. My husband and I usually take 1 to 2 weeks off in January and February. It's always been our tradition for probably 10 years. And I finally, I think it was on Monday, I just decided to book something in Palm Beach at a resort, and at least it's giving me something to look forward to. And I think that's part of the problem. We don't have all these events and things to look forward to. Let's see, let me read a couple of more and then we'll move on. This one I think is from Kimberly, and she says, I don't have separation from work and home. I think that is key. And when I first started working from home many years ago, I was working in the evening and on weekends and stuff. And now in my house, I really have a door to separate into my office. And I try literally sometimes to just walk out of my office and go back in. So I do have some separation. But, so many of us are now working from home. Out of my typical routine, and we're going to talk a lot more about that because routines are really important. And I did some reading to prepare for this PowerPoint. What are the experts saying? What are the psychologists saying? And one of the biggest things is to find a new normal, a new routine. And our body actually, this is very interesting, our bodies crave routine. Some people are much more routine people than others, but remember, your body craves that. So we've got to find a new one and kind of stick to it. Rebecca says too many emails and just probably Zoom meetings. I had a friend that was on 5 Zoom meetings back to back last week. And she said, I finally had to leave a Zoom meeting to go to the bathroom. They were so back to back to back to back. That's kind of the new norm. I'm going to be starting an online training for a client. They're going to be 2.5 hours long. And I'm like, we got to have a break in there. People can't go that long without it. So let's see. Colleen says Microsoft Teams chatting from coworkers can eat up probably your time. So those are a lot of our chats. One more from Michelle says work expectations for me personally are low right now. I work from home, so it's odd adjusting to fill my time. I don't mind, but I don't want to unknown expectations later that I didn't fulfill. Oh, you said that. Really, really good, Michelle. And I think for a lot of us, it kind of might be some of that. Expectations are lower. We don't have a full workload, though there are other people I know who are absolutely positively swamped and are working 7 days a week. So, but for a lot of us, it's a new norm, and it really does affect our productivity. And your productivity might start to look a little bit different. And I find that when I get things done psychologically, it makes me feel so much better. So we'll talk a little bit more of that. So these are the top productivity issues that I found out there doing my research. And number one is a lack of sleep. And that might be because we're staying up way too late watching Netflix, which I am guilty of on occasion. It might be worry. It might be other responsibilities. But one of the number one things that affects your productivity is your sleep. And I'm sure you've heard that before, but be aware of that. And my husband and I, we're starting to get back into our normal routine of kind of going to bed and getting up. And I've kind of set 9 o'clock for me in the morning is I need to be get going and dress, maybe have a little bit of makeup on, and I need to start doing stuff because in the beginning, it was kind of nice to be lazy in the morning. They say ongoing and long-term stress, again, really hurts our productivity. And it's not necessarily that the stress is going to go away, but how do we deal with the stress? We'll talk a little bit more about that. Again, that lack of consistent routine. So one of the number one things I really want you to get out of today is, maybe as soon as this presentation ends, is to sit down and start to design what's your kind of ideal routine. At least Monday through Friday or Monday through Thursday, give yourself a little time off on Friday, but how can we create that new norm and that new routine? My sister who lives in Wisconsin, she has to get up and she walks for an hour every morning. Sometimes she calls me with her headset in, but that's her new routine, to get up and walk, and then the day goes much better. I know I started to work out more consistently in the morning. I think it just gets my blood pumping, and that helps. Interruptions. And I think, even though I'm used to working from home, my husband is around a lot more. And as much as I love him, he sometimes is a big routine. And I know so many of you have kids at home. That's certainly a routine. I've been on so many Zoom calls where kids are in or out. or, they're asking mom and dad questions, and that's fine. We're coming into your home now, and we have to be very considerate that your family is around. And then procrastination. And I've got a bunch of really good books that I put into the end of this PowerPoint that you'll get when we're done, that you might want to read. Almost all of them you can download for the library, and I'll explain all of those. But there's a great book on procrastination, and I'm going to share a few tips, but you might want to read it. It's super easy read. So let's talk about self-care, and that will look different from everybody. And while I was, again, putting this together, I wasn't just thinking of us girls. Guys, you're going to have to chat. So why don't you guys start doing that while I talk about this? What are you doing for self-care? And I really want to hear from the guys that are on this webinar. My husband belongs to a golf league, and he is missing it so much. It was supposed to start Tuesday. He was so geared up. All of his friends were texting back and forth, and then the weather was so bad and the golf course was so wet that he didn't get to go. But that's one of the things he's really, really looking forward to. One of the things when I work with clients on life balance, I say, what are your hobbies? And so often I hear, what hobbies? Or they haven't had times for hobbies for years. And for me, I think that's been my number one lifesaver, has been my hobbies. As I was again talking to Geraldine earlier this morning, is I love to sew. I actually have a degree in textiles and work for 2 different textile companies down in North Carolina. And I'm really trying to sew almost every day. It's my meditation. Totally forget about everything else for an hour or two. And I feel afterwards so much better. I've also, on the more personal side, I have a great soaking tub, and I was hardly using it. I've been using it a lot more in the evening, and I'm sleeping better. So exercise for all of us must be high on our list, no matter what it is. I've been doing a lot of yoga in the morning and stretching. I know so many of you are great walkers. A friend of mine one thing she's enjoying right now, she has time for yoga and meditation every day. So another friend, consultant of mine, mentor, he's really into woodworking. He says he's doing projects for everybody in the neighborhood, and it's keeping him really busy. So those are some of the things, but what are your hobbies? What do you enjoy? What takes you away from worry? And so we've got a lot coming in on the chat, so let me catch up with that. I got to go back up to the beginning. So let's see. I've been keeping a done list in addition to a do list. That's from Tanja Foster. Oh, that's a great idea. And that's a suggestion. We have to have, like, at the end of the day, I did get these things done, and feel good about that. Let's see, work out. Absolutely. We've got to make sure that we're working that in. Amy says she crotchets and is trying to get in yard work. Yeah, I know we're all been really looking forward in getting the warmer weather with yard work. So giving myself manis and going to the park to watch the sunset. Selling Avon. Ooh, we need to take about that, Mary Beth. Probably need some Avon. I have a mini to moderate sized gym in my basement, and I work out 3 to 4 times a week. I go for walks. I ride my bicycle. I also stretch every day. Wonderful. Audiobooks is relaxing to have someone read to me. Pure enjoyment. Absolutely. I love that idea. You can, from your local library download audiobooks, or many of you probably have a plan, a good thing to do. So I want to say, we really need to get back into those hobbies, those things that make us feel good, and make sure that we're almost scheduling them every day, even if it's just a little bit. But I know personally, when I do those things like sewing or cooking, I feel much, much better. My husband has even made the comment a couple of times, I like it so much when you sew. And I said, why do you say that? And he said, because it makes you happy. And I can tell you're happier when you're sewing. It's pure therapy. for me. And everybody has, different hobbies. So visit those hobbies that maybe you haven't done before. I know a lot of people are sewing face masks that haven't sewn for years and they're kind of enjoying it. I have a friend that's making face masks for everybody. She's been furloughed and it's really keeping her busy, but it's connecting her back. Textiles, that the feel of the fabric, she said, is so comforting. So good. Okay, what provides comfort for you? And we talk about self-care, but what comforts you during this time? And one of the things I just want to suggest is, getting and not watching the news so much, but what gives you some comfort and care? So let's chat again and add on to not only what we're doing for self-care, but what comforts you? What brings you pleasure? I remember I went to a workshop on a Saturday. It's got to be 5 or 6 years ago with one of my girlfriends. And they said, what would you do, if money wasn't an object or time and you had time to do whatever you want? And I knew right away what I would do. But my friend, she couldn't get over that idea of, what she would do with free time. So what are some things that comfort you, bring you joy, bring you happiness? One of the suggestions that I had read years ago, and I really religiously started to do it, is in the evening, later in the evening, I might have watched something on TV, but I'm really getting into comedy late in the evening before I go to bed. Things that make me laugh, things that bring me joy. So if you haven't heard, I think it's on Netflix, Comedians in Cars Drinking Coffee with Jerry Seinfeld. They're like 20 minutes long and they're funny. And I watch one or two before I go to sleep. And there's so many on all the streaming devices, comedy shows out there and comedians and their specials. So that's one thing I've really done that comforts me. So let's else what people are saying. Relaxing from Erica, meditation, 30 minutes mid-afternoon. I like it so much that you're taking that break mid-afternoon. Getting ready to downsize our home. I'm loving cleaning out the house. I know so many people have been really they're not getting ready to downsize, but people have been really cleaning out, and that's can bring comfort when your house is organized. Exploring my neighborhood. How nice. I like that. Taking online webinars and classes just like this. If you are not familiar with lynda.com, it's Lynda, and I'll put it in my summary that'll come out in a day or two, but it's free through your library system. You can stream it, and there are so many wonderful, wonderful classes on there, and they're so well done that sometimes in the afternoon, if I don't have a lot to do, I just sit in my comfy chair and I learn something new. So I agree with you. Playing with your pets, good. Playing with the dogs, gardening, and I'm sure you're really looking forward to the warmer weather coming. Food. So Dwayne, are you eating food or are you cooking food? Chat me and let me know. But I've been doing both. I'm probably eating a little bit too much because it is very much comfort. But I recently got a Instapot, and I've been coming up with new recipes and have the time to do that. I actually made great stuffed cabbage casserole in the Instapot. And so trying out some new recipes. Watching Dr. Amy action. Good, good, good. Using essential oils, diffusing throughout the house. Yes, candles. Working outside with my husband. Good job. Let's see what else. We've got a few more. Writing letters to family and friends and baking. Ooh, that sounds really, really nice. I know that I've been calling friends on a consistent basis. I have a very, very good friend that's been in physical therapy, and we talk all the time, and I check up on her, send her cards, and that's almost become a regular routine for us. But I've had two friends from my past. One moved away from Cleveland, She was a training friend, and she reached out, and we've been working on a little decorative art project together. And she's an incredible artist. And so that's been a really fun to have time with that. Walking at the beach, good. My niece and my sister-in-law have been going down to the beach in Westlake and collecting, what do they call that, sea glass, and starting to make things out of it. Connecting with people virtually to stay in touch. Nice glass of red wine at home on the weekend with my wife. Absolutely. They say alcohol consumption is way up, but there's nothing to me more relaxing than a glass of wine in the evening. Just being still and journaling. Oh, I love that. That's so great. Old movies. Again, there's nothing better than a good old movie. Gratitude keeps me comforted. Checking in with loved ones regularly. I do not watch drama, only comedies to keep my mood up. I have so often my husband and I will see a show and I'm like, I can't watch that right now. When this is all over, it's too depressing, it's too much drama. Give me a good comedy. So organizing and redesigning my rooms, wonderful. I started a 365-day Bible study on YouVersion app, and we'll have the chat. So if anybody's interested in that, we'll have that down. Both my wife and I are the best cooks in the house. Good cooking, which I enjoy. DoorDash to new places. Well, that's kind of a good idea. Making lots of recipes I haven't made in a long time. Sort of nostalgia. Absolutely. I have to tell you a story. My mom was a great cook, and there's nothing better for me to put one of her recipes in the crock pot, go out for a walk or something, and come back in and smell one of my mom's favorite recipes. It's kind of like a hug from my mom, who's no longer with us. So I like that. Making a lot of recipes I haven't made for a long time. Working on my flower garden. Okay. FaceTiming with my grand boys. A lot of that's been going on. Weekly virtual happy hour with friends. I did my first one last Friday with a bunch of girls from church. We haven't seen each other in ages, and we did our first happy hour, and we're going to do that on a more regular basis. Family chat. Kimberly says she loves sea glass. So let's see. I really love it when I see the smiles on my wife and children's face after we solve a problem together around the house. And reading a good book, stimulating the economy with my check buying needed items for the house. So good. Lots of good things. And we really have to focus on what makes us happy, what brings us comfort. I know, that they talk about comfort foods, but there's so many other things, and you guys have all listed so many wonderful, wonderful things. And some of you have given me some great ideas that I need to start to do. This time is uncertainty is hard, but we also have to think about it as a little bit of a gift. What do things that we haven't had time to do in a very, very long time. So let's see. Let's talk now about some ideas for making time. A lot of you have had great suggestions, but one of the things is you might want to actually schedule it on your calendar. The woman, I think it was, or it might have been a gentleman, who said that they meditate every afternoon for 30 minutes. I think I'm putting that on my calendar because I like to meditate, but I haven't been making purposeful time to do that. I was talking to someone the other day, and they said that, they've got 3 young kids at home, and both of them are working from home, and they're getting very little alone time. And so they're now starting to schedule or negotiate some alone time, which they both realized they needed. And, they kind of put it on the calendar or say, I'm going to take my time from here or now. I know that my niece up in Wisconsin, sometimes she just says at the end of the day, after her husband comes out of the bedroom where he's been working, She just wants to take a drive just all by herself. She's been with the kids all day. She wants some sunshine and just get away. And she's been exploring new little areas around her house that she's never had time to um, drive through. And she so enjoys looking at people's homes. It's really important, and we're going to talk more about this in just a couple minutes. When's your high time and low time during the day? What are some of the things you need to do first thing in the morning? Because for many of us, that's our key time. So if there's something really important you want to get done, you might want to schedule it for first thing. There's a better chance than later in the day. One of the things that I used to do when I was so busy, even not traveling to see clients, but at home, was I love to read, or I love to watch British murder mysteries, things like on PBS or Acorn TV. So I'd make myself lunch and I'd sit down and watch TV for 30 minutes or read for minutes, and I'd actually set a timer. And I would do it guilt free and then come back to work, and I would actually be more productive. So, think of your lunchtime. Maybe it's now an hour, but what could you eat something and then maybe go for a walk? Do one thing for yourself every day, and it could be 15 or 30 minutes. But especially if you're a busy mom or dad, you may need to take a little bit of time and do something for yourself. So there's the great book out there. I'm sure many of you heard it, by Marie Kondo, on organizing and cleaning out. And she coined a phrase that many of people are using now. What sparks joy in your life? What makes your heart feel good? And as someone said, chatting with their grandkids on Zoom, that sparks joy. So kind of think of it as you do something. Oh, this really does resonate with me. This really sparks joy. This makes me feel better. And try to work more of those things into your life whenever you can. So I hope, we've got to make time for self-care. And it makes us better and easier to live with. I know personally that I'm easier to live with. So let's talk a little bit about life balance and setting some boundaries. So you may feel out of balance, which can lead to a feeling of life out of control. So no routine can lead to lack of balance, and we'll talk a little bit more of that. Lack of clear priorities, and several of you said in the chat, you may not be getting clear priorities from work. So you may need to see if you can clarify that more. Have a conversation with your boss. How should you be spending your time? What are things that you can work on? On the other hand, some of you have way too many priorities. When I was on that chat with my friends from church last Friday, one of the women works for a mayor of one of the local cities, and she says she's been on call 24/7. She goes into the office. She's working on Sundays. So she has way too many priorities. And she was funny. Everybody's looking forward to going back to work. She said, I can't wait for everybody else to go back to work so I can take a vacation. So, I was thinking, oh, this isn't the time or anything, but I need to talk to her about setting some boundaries. Number 4, not being realistic about what you can accomplish in one day. And I've talked to people for years about this. I think we almost set ourselves up for quite a bit of failure. We think we can get this much done when realistically we can only get this much done. So in these times, maybe we need to be a little kinder to ourselves, or a little bit more realistic. What can we exactly get done? And, I have many friends who are single, who are living alone. And, all of these things are true for you. So if you're on this webinar, just because you live by yourself and you don't have kids interrupting you or a spouse interrupting you all the time, you face many of the same challenges, and being realistic, because we're probably not always working at our peak performance. Some people have said to me that after a couple of weeks, they got into more of a routine and a rhythm, and they feel like they're doing much better. For others, this has been going on for so long, it's starting to get a bit discouraged. And as we said in the chat, the unknown. If we just knew, on, May 30th, life was going to go back to normal, we could sort of plan better and know when it's coming to an end. So I know the uncertainty is very hard on us. The other thing we need to do is ask for help, and that could look like it's so many different things. It could be asking for help around the house. It could be, asking help from coworkers. It could be asking help from friends and family, just helping you get through this. So when this all started, I asked both of my sisters who live out of town that I really wanted to make sure that we were touching base at least once a week and talking. And because I needed it, I said, and that we're open and honest with each other. So we usually talk at least once or twice a week for an hour. And I'm a very social person and I need that interaction. And I've been telling other friends, let's schedule time to talk because I need that interaction. And what I found is when I'm doing a webinar, when I'm talking to friends, I'm not thinking about other things. And my younger sister and my younger sister is really, really very stressed about all of this. Most of her work has dried up. She's a marketing person and everything is, she set a boundary that when we talk, we don't talk at all about COVID-19 because she said she's bombarded it so much, she has to deal with it in the clients that she still does have. So, maybe you need to set some boundaries when you're talking with people about what is on the table to talk about and what isn't. So just some things to think about setting some boundaries with yourself, with people, but with coworkers too. And I know from the one webinar I did last Friday on leading virtual, there were so many great ideas, and I may add it into the summary that we send out to you that they came up with about, just touching base with each other, getting on the phone and talking, doing Zoom meetings that are fun, those cocktail hours, 4 o'clock on Friday afternoon that one of my clients doing. Anybody, can join in. They've really done it because they're just touching base. They're wrapping up their week and they feel much better about what they've accomplished, have been really helpful. So let's chat again. So what are you doing to try to create that life balance? I'm sure some of the things that we've already talked about would come into play, but anything else, what have you been doing to create that life balance, to keep things kind of in control, to make sure you're taking care of yourself, but you're all accomplishing things? So one of the things that I've been trying to do during this life balance is I almost don't have enough work right now. So that's why I volunteered to do these webinars. And it's been really good for me because it's given me a reason to get dressed and put makeup on and take a shower. But also it's giving me something to think about, something that's creative and fun for me. So finding some work to do. So let's set and begin end times for work hours. Amy McGuire said that. I think that's a great idea. What are your hours? I know I have one or two friends where their bosses have said, check in, do this, but don't feel like you have to be working 8 hours a day. Keeping my routine to the same, eating healthy, trying to go for walks. I joined Weight Watchers. Good. I still use my planner to set a schedule. Yeah, I'm still using my online one, my Outlook. When I turn my computer off at the end of workday, I'm really done with work for the day. I agree so heartedly. I got into a habit years ago when I was still working in corporate America. At the end of the day, I would take like 10, 15 minutes, clean up my desk. And so when I came in the next morning, I would be ready to go. And then I would push my chair in and turn off the light. So everyone always said they knew when I had left because my desk was clean and my chair is pushed in. I'm still doing that in my home office. At the end, I'm like, okay, I'm done. It's kind of a ritual of mine. Clean up my desk, get ready for tomorrow, know what my things I have to get done are, and push my chair in and turn off the light in my office. So separating work from home, I box off my office at the end of every day. And I want to add on, I know a lot of you are working like at the dining room table or the kitchen table, and so you don't have a room that you can just shut the door. So I like how you say box it up. Attending these webinars keep me thinking and my skills sharp. I love this dress for work. Don't stay in my PJs all day. I keep the same hours at home as I did at work. Good. Take frequent breaks and step away from the computer. Let's see. Oh, someone's just saying thank you for my positive energy and my volunteer to do the webinars. Trying something new every day, a new recipe or a new place to take a walk. I really like that suggestion, taking advantage of that to try something new. So thanks everybody for all your suggestions about creating more balance in your life. And I think if we still maybe use our calendar some way or think about how we can throughout the day work, take breaks, talk to friends. I have a friend that calls me a lot about 7 o'clock at night. And when we hear the phone ring, my husband goes, oh, that's, and I say, absolutely. And so we've kind of created a little ritual several days a week to talk at 7 o'clock. So let me see from Michelle We Hear. I think it's important to recognize that it's okay not to be okay or feel productive every single day. The mental toll is real, no matter how strong you think you are. Baby steps, set goals. Absolutely. And I have days where I can't keep the energy up. I can't keep the positive energy up. And I sort of give myself an okay. I had a philosophy many, many years ago that when something got me down, I would have a pity party for 15 minutes. I could cry, bitch, moan, complain, just have a meltdown for 15 minutes and then get it out and then move on. And I still kind of keep with that today. It's okay to feel what I'm feeling, but I don't want to spend the whole day feeling that way. I talk again to my sisters, and some days are so much easier than others, and I hear myself saying to them, it's okay. It's okay to have a bad day. It's okay to get sort of caught up in the worry about what is our future going to be like. So great. Let's see, we have one or two more and we'll move on. I only get out once a week for essentials. If it's not on the list, I don't get it. I stick to my budget. Yeah, that's been really important. I think we're all feeling that we really need to stick to budgets and be careful of our spending. Good. Okay. So a couple of things that I wanted to just summarize with setting boundaries is, I want to make sure I'm on the right slide. Figure out your new normal working hours, and maybe take some time today to say, okay, what time do I need to get up by? When do I need to work out? When do I need to get this accomplished? When do you need to be available for your kids? I want to talk about this for a little bit because I've been talking to so many people who are adjusting to have their kids home all the time, that they may have to break throughout the day. Maybe they take more time at lunchtime to connect with their kids. My niece's husband up in Wisconsin, he's working from home full time, and they have 2 little ones. In the first couple days that he was home, they had a spare bedroom. They explained it to the girls, and he went into his new office and shut the door. And the kids were literally laying in the hallway, crying and banging on the door. Why wouldn't dad come out? Why wouldn't daddy come out and play with them? So he's had to adjust. So now he gets up with the kids, he has breakfast with them and spends time. Then mom's doing schoolwork with them, and then he comes out and spends longer than he normally would at lunchtime, but to reconnect. And then he takes a break about 3 o'clock, and they go out and play. They take a walk. They go out and do something outside. And then he may do some work later in the afternoon, but he's found a new routine that works for him and his family. What's your highest productivity time and your lowest productivity time? So I want to talk for just a couple minutes, and this comes out of all my time management. There's something called circadian rhythms, and you may have heard that word or not, but some of us are morning people, some of us are real night owls, and some of us, I think, are day people. So for me, I'm a more of a morning person. So if I need to get something done, if I need to be creative, I need to do something where I have to really concentrate, um, I've really got to do that in the morning. And I work really, really well. I can stay focused till about 1 o'clock. And then I've gotten in the habit of trying to eat lunch after 1 o'clock. And then I feel like I've really gotten a good part of my day under my belt. And then in the afternoon, I can still kick in, not as high in energy, but still kick in and get some work done in the afternoon, where some of you are totally the opposite. And, mornings are rough for you and you're much, much better in the afternoon. So that could really become part of your new routine is when's your highest energy time. Some of you may know Sarah Spangler. She works at Metro Hospital, but she's also a big trainer here in Cleveland, my cohort, and so many different things. And so she works full time for Metro. So when we want to collaborate or do things, she always says 8 o'clock at night. Well, I'm a morning person. 8 o'clock at night, I'm starting to really, really wind down. And so I always say, Sarah, could we do it quick over lunch? Or could you do it as soon as you got home? So sometimes she even does it, talks to me, or we, get things done before she leaves work. She lets some of the traffic go. But we've had to kind of negotiate. She's an extreme night person, and I'm an extreme morning person. So, be aware of that. Be honest with people when you've hit the wall, when you're brain dead. The last week has been hard for me because of my allergies. And sometimes my brain just doesn't seem to be working at full speed. And I, kind of had to be open and honest with people. I'm sorry, but I just feel like I'm working in a fog right now. And help me out here. So, I think we have to say, hey, I'm just not at my best at the moment. And many times I've had to say that over the years to people, could we pick this up tomorrow morning when I'm fresh? All of the research I've done, all the reading over the years is that we're more productive when we take several breaks throughout the day. And there's really interesting study that's going, how did we ever get into the work hours we're at? And, this 8 to 5 and, one break for lunch if we're lucky. But they're starting to think how star athletes, Olympic athletes, is they train really, really hard for about 90 minutes. And then they take a break to, for their muscles to recover. And then they hit it again for 90 minutes. And they might do that throughout the day. And they're starting to think that that's maybe the way that we should work is really focused, really productive for about 90 minutes and then take a break. And I have certainly been trying to do that for many, many years. And I find for me, it works really well. Reach out to friends when you need affirmation or encouragement. Call a friend up and say, hey, I just need some positive energy. I need some love. Let's laugh. Let's talk. I know a lot of funny things have been going around on the internet. I love getting them because it just makes me laugh, and we need that throughout the day. So couple one for setting boundaries is ask people for realistic time frames and due dates. So if somebody needs something from you, be really clear with them. When do you realistically need that? It might do two things, balance out all the things you have to do, but also it might help with procrastination or give you that sense of, I need to get this done right away. Tell people that you'd be happy to get back them to you when you get this, or this done, or that you need some issues that you have to tackle first. So people can't read your minds. They don't know everything on your plate. So I've used that tactic for years. Push back nicely about the number of hours that you are working, and what's realistic for you. Ask your boss to help you prioritize. I've called it delegating back up. It's a term that I kind of used, is when you're feeling overwhelmed, have a conversation with your boss. Maybe you do your to-do list and then you say, hey, is this realistic? What do you know that I don't know right now? So that might affect, because our priorities are always changing. So I know you've heard so much about this, but stop answering the phone or checking emails after a set time in the evening on weekends. Turn off your electronics, or stop taking the work emails, the work phone calls that you had. So I had a woman that I've worked with as a consultant, and she was emailing people at 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night. And she started to get pushback that people were feeling pressure at 10, 11 o'clock at night to respond to her. And she started to let people know, I'm just sending things out as I think of them. You don't have to respond. But she found that people felt pressure, so she stopped doing it, because she never expected anyone at 11 o'clock at night to be responding to her emails. So she stopped doing it and started doing them in the morning in more realistic hours. So maybe you need to have a conversation if you have a boss or a coworker who's emailing you in the middle of the night. Okay, so some tips to kind of wrap all this up for life's balance is, remember, we all have bad days and nobody's perfect. And I think that we have to maybe be more vocal about sharing that with people. Having a good cry, or as I say, a good scream, can release frustrations and emotions. I know I'm not a big crier, but in the last couple of months, there's been times when my emotions have really been very, very strong. And I've had a couple of cries. And you know what? I have felt so much better afterwards. Take care. And, maybe you need to ask for the day off or a half a day off. So my niece, last Thursday, a week from tomorrow, was turning 15. And she was very upset that she thought everybody was going to forget her birthday. And they decided, of course, to postpone it, hopefully in June. And the weather will be better so we can be outside. But she was so concerned that, the teacher, her friends, her family would forget about her birthday. And so my brother usually goes into work every day. He's able to do that. He told his boss, hey, I'm working from home today. I'm going to be around my daughter. And I went over and took her flowers and donuts first thing in the morning. And then they were picking up Chick-fil-A for lunch. He was going to go do that. And he just wanted to be around her. And I just thought, I was so glad he did it and he could do it. So think about, things like that. So some things really quick. We're coming down to the last 10 minutes. Anything that you're doing to stay productive. Any other tips that we haven't heard? I heard one from Tina. It helps to have a good relationship with coworkers. When I tell one of them I will get it, but I'm working on something urgent, they know me well enough to know I'll get back to them. So any other great tips like that? Let's go ahead and have a quick chat about what are you doing. Text or call my coworkers. Good. What else? I know I've been texting people about setting up times to talk with them that fits their schedule. And that seems to work well for me and a lot of my cohorts, is to set a specific time, and that way they can be ready to do that. Okay. If any more chats come in. Geraldine is saying she always includes deadlines. Good, good. Stay connected with my coworkers. We have a daily call scheduled each day at 8:30 a.m. We have since we started working remotely. This helps to start my day. That's a fantastic idea. I think a lot of us need to start doing that. We have a weekly WebEx meeting to catch up. Okay, I'm going to come back if we have time to see if any more chats came up in. But let's move on. So these are my 10 top productivity tips. I'll go through them really fast. You'll get them in the PowerPoint when you get it. Start with realistic goals for the day. Create a plan and block out your time. When I teach time management, I say, what are the 3 most important things you need to get done, and do those first. And I'm doing that at home. I'm following my own advice. Check email only a few times in the morning and then in the afternoon. We can get so caught up with email that we need to maybe cut back on how often we check in. Though some of you I know need to be on email all the time. Block your work in the mornings and meeting and phone calls in the afternoon, or switch it. If you're really productive in the morning, do as low priority things in the afternoon, or switch it up. If you're really productive in the afternoon, then maybe you want to do your Zoom calls or phone calls in the morning. But I have always been sort of guarded my mornings to get what I call my work done, which is the important things. And then in the afternoon, I've always done coaching calls, meetings, things like that. And it's worked out really, really well for me. Okay, try not to work too late in the evening. It really cuts into your productivity the next day. They say somewhere between 9 to 10 hours is not realistic, but once you go beyond that, you actually are a little bit more or less productive the next day. Eating lunch, actually, later in the afternoon, you'll be more productive. If you don't eat lunch, they say by 3 o'clock, your productivity starts to lower. Drink lots of water. Sometimes when you're feeling a little bit tired, your brain isn't in focus. It's just because you're dehydrated. Again, one of the things I try to do is to stay really, really focused, not to check email, maybe for 30 minutes, and just, I'm going to pound this out. I'm going to get it done. And so then it's off my plate. At the end of the day, as I spoke earlier, you might want to create an end of the day ritual. It helps you psychologically to make that transition. Even if you go from working at the kitchen table to eating at the kitchen table, maybe some kind of an end of the day ritual will help. Good. So the basics of food for thought the basics of a daily routine, including staying consistent with sleep and wake cycles, regular meals, and exercise or an activity are essential if you want to stay productive. It's really kind of a fine line between being productive and being unproductive. I think we've touched on lots of that. So I want to talk just for a minute about procrastination. I think we have to be really realistic what we can get done in a day, and reward yourself. If there's something you've got to get done today and you don't like doing it and you're feeling you're procrastinating, set a reward. For me, many times it's around food. Maybe you go and pick something up or have something delicious delivered. I have really tried to do my hardest things first, or the things I'm dreading to do it. Because what we find is if you're procrastinating about something and you're doing something else, it's still sort of in the back of your mind, and it's actually, this might sound funny, sucking your energy. It's kind of like you have a messy desk looking at everything. By the end of the day, that's been a huge distraction. If there's something you really hate to do, and you procrastinate about it, see if you can trade off with somebody. My husband and I do that all the time because he is very different than I am. But I've always done that at work. The things that I really am not good at, tend to procrastinate about. I try to see if there's somebody else that, likes to do it. Like I always say, thank God that there's accountants out there and people who like numbers, because that's so not my thing. But Linda Sabatin's book, It's About Time, and it's right here, is all about procrastination. And I think it should be a must read for everybody, because if you're not a procrastinator, you might work with a procrastinator, or like me, be married to a procrastinator. And her book is the best one I've ever read. I like lots of her tips and tricks. And one of the things she has in her book is she has come up with this. There's 6 different styles of procrastination. And she then gives you advice on, if you're that style, what to do. But if you live or work with one of the styles, what's the best strategy to work with them? And I highly recommend this. And again, it's a super easy book to read, and she has lots of great advice for dealing with procrastination. My all-time favorite book, and you're going to laugh at me, is Time Management for Dummies by Jeffrey Mayer. If I was going to write a time management book, this is it. He did it for me. So many practical tips, a lot of the things that I talked about today, and also he has a great sense of humor. I think that's one of the things I really like about it. So it's very easy to read, but he has so many practical things. There's another Time Management for Dummies by a different person. If you want to get this one, make sure it's the one by Jeffrey Mayer. That's the good one. So a couple of other ones that I just wanted to throw out there. Getting Things Done by David Allen. He's a top expert. A lot of people recommend him. I don't love him. This book was not that helpful for me, and I didn't particularly enjoy it, but I had to put it on the list because so many people really like him. I really liked The Power of Full Engagement. This has been out for a few years. It's really about tapping into your circadian rhythms and your high energy time. So this really resonated with me, and I make it a must read for all my clients. The good old 7 Habits of Highly Effective have some good takeaways. Again, not my all-time favorite, but there were some tidbits in it that I picked away. But I do recommend, this is a great audio to listen to. One that you probably have never heard of, it's called Yes or No, The Guide to Better Decisions by Spencer Johnson. It's only in audio, and it's a fable. And I probably had it in my car for 2 or 3 years, and I probably listened to it over those 2 or 3 years 50 times, and I'm not exaggerating. It's so easy to listen to. But there's so many things I still follow, and the crux of the audio is, what should you be doing right now, and saying no to things. And so again, I feel that everybody should listen to this. It's super easy to listen to it. It's not very long. So another really great one that I recognize to people. So let's look at our chat and see if there's any final comments, or if you want to chat anything in. Geraldine and I really appreciate you being on this webinar, and I hope that that you've gotten a couple of tips, and I hope that this has been helpful for you, because this has not been easy to go through. And I am finding that the longer it's lasting, the harder it's getting for me. The first 6 weeks I did pretty good. But when we kind of extended it, it got harder for me. Susan Moreno said, stay resilient, resourceful, and resolute, everyone. Patrick says, I'll go out and get it tomorrow. I'm not sure which book, but I'm glad you're going to do that. My wife and I have a happy hour each day after work. My husband and I are starting to gravitate that, where we're trying some new red wines in the evening. So let's see what else. Good. I think that kind of sums it up. Thank everybody for telling me it's been a great webinar, and some good food for thought. So again, thank you for joining us. I've gone over just a couple of minutes, But I hope everybody has an awesome afternoon. The sun's out, the weather's starting to warm up, and take care. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Susan. On behalf of everyone here at Corporate College, and as you can see and read, everyone on the webinar, thank you so much for sharing your very helpful presentation today and comments and recommendations and resources. I know, Susan, you reminded me that I really do have to be more realistic about my time. I'm the guilty one, trying to get more done than time allows. So thank you so much for that. And everyone, please remember, Corporate College is here to serve you with these essential learnings to overcome the challenges you may be facing right now. When you visit Corporate College's website, you can see our virtual classroom training programs, self-paced online programs, and as you can tell, when we partner with such fabulous facilitators like Susan, that we can really provide you that organizational services, training, and coaching services. So also please feel free to rewatch Susan's presentation today and share it. You'll find it available on the Corporate College free webinar series page in the next couple of days. You just click on the free webinar series link. And always, please stay up to date with what we're doing here by following us on social media. So thank you again. Thank you for joining us. And please, everyone, stay safe and stay healthy. Thanks again, Susan. Take care.
Welcome. Thanks, everybody, for joining. I really enjoyed doing this and spending time with you, and it motivated me to get up, get in the shower, and put my makeup on today. So thanks for that.
Thanks. Thanks, Susan.
Bye-bye, everybody. And remember, you will get the PowerPoint sent to you, so you'll have a list of all the books that I recommend.
Excellent. Yes, they'll get the PowerPoint and a survey. And I want to also, again, thank you, Susan, for offering to summarize all the chat messages so we can, really keep all these great food for thought and comments from everybody. Thank you again, Susan.
Great. A lot of great suggestions today. I'm taking some of them away and going to do some of them myself.
Me too. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.